The Queen is no longer alive. The second Elizabethan period has come to an end. The royal family will do what it does best to cover uncertainty and emotion with ritual and ceremony. Flags will be flown at half-mast, rituals will be held, and bells will ring. But for now, there is unease. So in today's video, we are going to talk about how Queen Elizabeth era came to an end. If you want to find out more, stay tuned until the end of the video. It is difficult to picture Britain without Queen Elizabeth II, owing to the fact that practically everyone has only known it with her. She died at the age of 96, having ascended to the kingdom when she was 25. Her rule will be remembered with superlatives. Elizabeth II was the oldest and longest reigning queen in British history. She has appeared on more currency than any other living person. Hers was maybe the most copied photograph in history. She was also the first monarch of the contemporary age of the media. Her coronation in 1953 was the first to be shown on television, and she became Britain's first queen to send an email in 1976. Her people knew more about her than any other ruler. They knew she had worn her crown to breakfast before her coronation to get used to its weight. They saw her decked in her finery and knew she had to undress to her shift first to be anointed with holy oil. The commoner and queen's connection is one of immense distance and strange intimacies. You bow to your king while holding their head in your palm and using it to pay for potatoes. Elizabeth II introduced a new level of closeness. The Victorians felt that the monarchy needed to preserve its distance in order to survive. We must not let in daylight upon magic. During her reign, not only daylight, but even spotlights were let in. It did not always go as planned. When Diana, hounded by photographers, died in a Paris tunnel in 1997, Elizabeth was trailed by a media that sniffed less blood than bloodlessness. The media repeatedly reduced Elizabeth to her shift, and for a while, neither the crown nor the subjects could cope. She seemed to be a lady out of time, with her headscarves and clipped vowels. Monarchs, more than others, are anachronisms in their own time. The abdicating Edward VIII described Elizabeth as a princess trained in the manners and maxims of the 19th century for a life that had all but vanished by the end of her youth. The young Elizabeth attended classes at Eton, a medieval-era institution that utilized a Victorian-era text, and was tutored by a teacher who was so accustomed to educating male pupils that he addressed the little princess as gentleman. It is no surprise, however, that Elizabeth's values, stoicism and responsibility, being calm and continuing on, and most of all silence, were from another period. Under the glare of contemporary media, such as antiquated ideals seemed dun-colored. While her children, grandkids, and in-laws emoted and misbehaved in interviews, she buttoned her lip and boarded flights, trains, and boats. She crisscrossed the nation and the Commonwealth, listening, waving, connecting her hands, and asking, "Have you come far?" Few had progressed as far as she had. While she tutted at individuals who talk but do not do at the COP26 conference last year, it looked like a passionate remark from a lady who has done but not spoken for a lifetime. Empathy softened harsh judgment as the media era evolved into the social media age. The way I felt about her changed. Her quiet, which had appeared an outmoded relic, began to look foresighted, even pleasant. Her stock remained strong, even as the currency that carried her profile sank and Britain declined. Michelle Obama wrapped her arm around Donald Trump, who wished for a state visit, and now she's gone. According to Walter Bagot, the Victorian whose book Elizabeth read, Monarchy, acts as a disguise, enabling a country to change without heedless people knowing it. Elizabeth's lengthy life provided the sense of stability to a society that was in fact changing dramatically. Her immediate predecessor, Edward VIII, who was born in the age of square-rigged sailing ships and died in the age of nuclear bombs, said that so much had changed so quickly that he felt as if he had been traveling through history in a time machine. Elizabeth II departs from a kingdom and commonwealth that are vastly different from those she inherited. When she ascended to the throne, the remnants of imperial authority persisted. The afterglow of World War II triumph was still fresh. Britain is now little more than a regional power in the North Atlantic. Succession is being threatened on all sides. And the Commonwealth, which is already unraveling, appears certain to collapse much worse without her. With her death, the last thread that bound Britain to a period of glory was served. Few believe that the monarchy will survive without her. Many believe that Charles is unqualified for the post. The Prince of Wales has spoken much too much, far too much of it, self-pitying. But he too has softened in recent years. Some of the themes on which he has beat the tub the longest, most notably the environment, seem to be less like crank obsessions, and the Windsors have already had a survival instinct. It's in their name. They were formerly known as the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. However, in June 1917, Gotha bombers staged a strike on London, killing 18 children in a primary school. The royal family changed their name to Windsor that month. The job of King Charles is not an easy one. Waiting in the wings is difficult, and the world's longest reigning king is also the world's longest heir apparent. People are skeptical that he can follow in her footsteps. In reality, there's no need for him to. She created the monarchy to fit her personality, and her longevity made eccentricity seem to be orthodoxy. Change is a possibility. Indeed, the currency of the realm practically requires it. Since the Restoration in the 17th century, it has been conventional for each British king to face the opposite direction as their predecessor, maybe to symbolize that each would do things their own way. George VI sat to the left, Elizabeth II to the right, and Charles to the left once again. Change and continuity minted into metal. In a live radio transmission in the early stages of World War II, a 14-year-old Princess Elizabeth offered a message of cheerfulness and courage to youngsters who have been evacuated from their family homes in her first public address. Though little known in 1940, her unmistakable shrill voice became immediately familiar to practically everyone in Britain and millions more across the world throughout Queen Elizabeth II's reign, which concluded with her death, aged 96. She guided the world's most renowned royal family through times and welcomed generations of monarchs, presidents, and despots as the sturdy head of the state to a crucial but fading country over 7 decades of global transition. The Queen's marriage to Prince Philip, whom she married at the age of 21, lasted 74 years until his death in April 2021. After her 56-year-old father died in 1952, she became the queen at age 25 and started a reign marked by transformation and moral inquiry that explored everything up to the privilege that provided her money, magnificent jewelry, and castles. Her live Christmas Day address in 1957 was the first time a British queen appeared on television. Later, she perfected the knack of pre-recording Christmas greetings and was called One Take Windsor, referencing her family name. Modernization did not end with television. The royal website first appeared in 1997, followed by a YouTube channel a decade later. Twitter in 2009, then Facebook and Flickr the following year. It was not always simple to make changes. After Rupert Murdoch's media empire arrived in Britain in 1969, tabloids were more hungry for royal gossip. When punk band the Sex Pistols sang "God Save the Queen" in 1977, they were not exactly praising the monarch. The Queen herself dubbed 1992 Annus Horribilis, when scandals involving her children's relationships surfaced, and a fire ravaged Windsor Castle, igniting a debate over whether people should foot the tab for repairs. After the death of the estranged Princess Diana in 1997, she was chastised for being cold and aloof. She resided in a Scottish castle until her return to London was met with widespread outrage. She entertained many of the world's greatest politicians, including South Africa's Nelson Mandela and France's Charles de Gaulle, as well as some of the world's most heinous dictators, from Romania's Nicolae Ceausescu to Uganda's Idi Amin. She carefully welcomed then US President Barack Obama in 2009, whose paternal grandfather, Hussein Onyango Obama, was tortured by British soldiers during Kenya's Mau Mau insurrection in the 1950s. She met people from all around the country and welcomed 50,000 visitors at Buckingham Palace each year. She was a proper professional at her trade. For Prince William, one of 8 grandkids via 4 children. Without her profile, UK coins and stamps will appear different. Her passing leaves hundreds of organizations without a patron, including the RSPCA, an animal charity that mirrored her love of corgis, racehorses, and other animals. What are your thoughts on Queen Elizabeth's reign? Leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. That will be all for today's video. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and hit the notification bell so you can get an update whenever we upload any video in the future. May the Queen rest her soul, and goodbye.